Renee. Now, Taronga Zoo is very proud of the Aboriginal heritage of this area. This is Camaragal land. The Camaragal women were known as great providers for their families out here in Sydney Harbour over thousands of years. Collecting seafood in a sustainable way would connect them with a lot of wonderful native marine life. And today we'd like to share that connection with you by introducing you to some of our seals. So, are you ready to meet a seal? Are you ready to meet a seal? Alright, how much fun are school holidays? So let's meet the first of our seals, who's really quite a character. Now, this is a Californian sea lion. While not native to our shores, we like to present them because they're the type of seal living closest to humans. Now, if you've ever travelled to somewhere like San Francisco, there's a big population of these guys downtown living in their bay area. Living so close to humans means that we impact on their world, and often in a not so positive way. However, this guy's pretty cool. He's named Cisco after the city San Francisco. What about a big loud welcome for him and his trainer Jose? And that's a really long hello right on back. You know, a lot of people think that all seals make that sound, but it's only that species, the Californian sea lion, that has that type of voice. Believe it or not, you and I and Jose all have something in common with Cisco. Have a look at your hand. Now take a look at Cisco's front flipper. Underneath that skin is exactly the same bone structure that we have in our hands, allowing seals like Cisco to get around on land much quicker and easier than you might expect. Why don't we take a look as Cisco goes for a walk? Or a slide. Sea lions and fur seals are known as eared seals. When they're on land, they climb and get around really quite well. And of course, it's in the water where they're truly magnificent. Why don't we have a look there? As Cisco shows his porpoising. Listen carefully. Porpoising allows an air-breathing animal that lives in the ocean, just like a seal, a dolphin, a whale, or even a penguin, to travel long distances, and they don't have to stop to take a breath. All the animals that I just mentioned are all great predators out there in the ocean, but they share the oceans with another great predator, one, however, which is often misrepresented or misunderstood. Cisco's going to give us a hint. When you know what animal we're talking about, kids, we want you to yell it out. What is it? That's a pretty cool shark, isn't it? However, what he's doing is what's known as thermoregulation. On a warm day like today, you or I may perspire or sweat, and that's how we cool down. Seals can overheat even when they're in the water, so they put the hairless part of the body, the flipper, above the water, allowing the heat to escape through there. And their flippers are good for one more thing, which is showing us just how strong they are. And that's a great way to start things off, and everyone, that's Cisco. Very fast moving. They're very keen to get involved, but we still have to work very hard to get the seals to do behaviours on cues. Now, some of these behaviours include health checks, and we're going to demonstrate that a little bit later on. But to start those behaviours off, we have to build a rapport with these animals. Built on trust, that relationship is really quite important. We're going to demonstrate now just how we start that relationship by asking one of you to help us out. Who'd like to help us out with the help here of one of our seals? And you know what, you put your hand up really quickly. Why don't you come over this way, leave your phone with your friends. What's your name? Brianna. Turn and face the audience. Everyone say hi to Brianna. All right, Brianna, we're about to meet a seal who's probably our nicest natured seal at Taronga, but one of our oldest, another Californian sea lion, but he was born in a zoo in Europe, just like Cisco was, but he was relocated to Taronga about 15 years ago. He's quite a character. Now, Californian sea lions are very fast-moving creatures, and they get spooked really easily, so we have to be very careful when we're dealing with them, just to make sure that they understand that we mean no harm. This guy's name is Pepper. He's just here. Let's get a look at Pepper. So Pepper's trainer is Renee, and they've got a very strong relationship. So let's come over, Brianna, and we'll work on doing the same thing. What we want you to do, Brianna, is step on that red spot and again face the audience. And Pepper's going to lift his flipper. When he does, hang on to it. Now have a good look. Does that flipper look nice and clear? Yep, great. You can drop it now. Just like us, seals can get calluses and cuts from walking in sharp places like rocks. That's all clear. The next thing we want Pepper to understand is that we mean no harm. We want to build that relationship with him, and we start off by just patting him in the right place, just there. That's it. Nice and rock. It was after that fish. Knew where that was coming from. So what does Pepper feel like, Brianna? Soft. Soft and wet. Really good description of a seal, especially when he's just coming out of the water. Brianna, you've done a really good job. I'm going to take you back to your seat. Over this way. Well, don't make you jump. No. Well, wait on. We've got to do something really important, and he just reminded us of that. Where are you going? You can stand there. Everyone can give him a big wave goodbye, and you can help us out too, Brianna. Thanks very much, Pep. Thanks, Renee. And how about a big round of applause for our volunteer? Thanks for helping us out, Brianna. In the wild, Californian sea lions are normally found from Vancouver in Canada down the west coast of the USA to Baja, Mexico. But we also have seals, of course, in our own waters. In fact, closer to home, right here in Sydney Harbour, we have a really cute seal species. Now, it's the New Zealand fur seal, or more recently they've been known as the long-nosed fur seal to best represent them. First sighted in New Zealand, hence the name, they're also an Australian native species too. We sometimes get these animals into our wildlife hospital, and that was the case with this little guy that we're about to meet. We're going to do something a little bit differently right now. We're going to bring our seal out for a walk. This is called desensitisation, where we get our seals nice and comfortable with the sights and the sounds of a live audience. But we just ask that during this time you please remain seated. And of course, please don't try and reach out and touch the seal, just in case he misunderstands that as a cue. So this little guy's name is Abel. He's still a youngster, and you'll see how different he looks to the first two that you've already met. And here he is. Any second now. There he comes. You can give him a big clap, make him feel welcome. Notice the difference already. Abel looks a bit like a shaggy dog. You see, fur seals, just like Abel, have two layers of fur. An outer layer, which is coarse to touch, and that protects the soft layer underneath, keeping him nice and dry during the cooler winter months. Jose's just giving him a scratch just to show us that underneath sort of covering that he's got. If you have a look at his left-hand side, you'll notice a circular scar. It's really quite unusual. Abel came to us after being bitten by a cookie cutter shark. Cookie cutters grip a small dolphin or a whale or even a seal pup. They twist themselves and tear out a plump piece of flesh. That's how they eat, but unfortunately it keeps the other animal in a poor state of health. He was brought to our wildlife hospital where we get over 1,000 native animals each year. The goal of the veterinary staff and the keeping staff is to care for these animals and release them back again as quick as we can. But due to the age of the animal or the injury sustained, it's not always possible to release that animal, and that's what happened in Abel's case. Abel wasn't a candidate for release. We ran those recommendations by the National Parks and Wildlife Service, and both agencies were on the same page. So he's remained an ambassador for his species, and a really important one as well. Abel and some of the other New Zealand fur seals that we have, just a gentle reminder for everyone to please stay seated. We'd like to make this a positive experience for Abel just as much as it is for all of us as well. And so far that's really good because he's nice and comfortable with the people around him. Abel and our other New Zealand fur seals at the moment are being measured and weighed. That information is being passed on to rescue agencies, just like the National Parks and Wildlife Service. And this year, those agencies will use drones to view any seals that happen to be washed up on any of our beaches here in Sydney. A decision can be made whether we need to intrude on that seal and actually rescue them or look after them, or just leave them to find their way back out into the ocean again. And that'll be used by the observations from the drones. So that's a clever thing that we're doing to try and care for the animals in the wild by using these guys as well. What we think is Abel and the other seals that we have are at a maximum, optimum weight, and we can use that to judge some of the other guys out there in the wild. Funny enough, over 10 years ago, one of our scientists at Taronga put a tracker on a New Zealand fur seal, found that it swam from the south coast of New South Wales over to the South Island of New Zealand and back again in one season. Imagine a little guy like Abel able to do that. I think he's pretty wonderful. What do you think? Thanks, guys. Have it away, Abel. Remember? Yep, that part of the script. It's not coming. Don't worry. That's Abel, everyone. A lot of work has to go into caring for these creatures. Now that work involves what we call husbandry. Before the zoo opens each morning, it's a really busy place. Our keepers and our animals participate in husbandry. Where possible, we train those animals that we're working with to cooperate in their daily health care. We're about to introduce another seal, in fact a rarer type of seal, to demonstrate just what husbandry means in our marine mammal department. This seal is an Australian sea lion. They're one of the rarest types of seals on Earth. Hunted extensively in the 1800s, their numbers dropped to such an extent that now it's hard for them to build their numbers back up again. We believe there's less than 11,000 of them left in the wild. Isn't she absolutely beautiful? Her name is Noah, and of course she's here with Renee. How about a big high for them both? Now Noah and Renee have a strong relationship which is built on trust, and we've already talked about that. You can see that trust right now. If you're ever lucky enough to see a seal in the wild, don't get up this close because they can move fast, can spook, and they can be really quite dangerous. Nala understands, however, that what Renee is asking for on this occasion is not unreasonable. If Renee notices an unusual movement in Nala, she can get her to present the flipper on cue. We can look at that part of her body or even present it to the vets or the vet nurses. Next thing, we can get them to open their mouth on cue. Now remember, this occurs around the zoo each day. With our tigers and our sun bears and even our elephants, this is done behind protected contact. Gives us an idea of how the animals are travelling health-wise. Renee's just checking Nala's eyes and her ears. You know how uncomfortable that is when we go to the doctor and they have to check those parts of our body. So Nala is being really nice and relaxed for Renee. For us with our seals, a little bit easier where we can get up nice and close to them. You can see as Nala's lying down nice and still, Renee's giving her a reassuring scratch. At the same time, by pressing Nala in certain parts of the body, could indicate to us that there's a health issue if Nala flinches. Rolling over and exposing her belly like that was also really quite important. You see, Nala has been a mum twice. When we suspected a pregnancy, we had to practice ultrasounding her first. So when the real procedure was necessary, we didn't stress out or frighten the seal at all. Part of the ongoing care of these absolutely beautiful animals. And everyone, that's Nala. They have to face a lot of dangers out there in the wild, of course. Some seals, like the leopard seals, are great predators, but also killer whales and sharks. But one of the greatest dangers marine animals face right now is overfishing. Over the last couple of decades, we've overfished our oceans in many parts of the world, making it hard for a lot of wild marine creatures to find their food. There's something that we can do together which really makes a difference, however. Next time when you're shopping for seafood, try and choose MSC. That blue and white tick that you see on the wharf just over there is found on sustainable seafood. Choosing MSC means you protect fish stocks, jobs and the environment simply by choosing sustainable seafood and keeping seals like the next one a lot happier for a lot longer. And we're pretty happy because we have a lot of fun with this guy. Just like Pepper and Cisco, he was born in a zoo in Europe and then transferred to Taronga Zoo. Another Californian sea lion who's quickly maturing, however. And when you see the males, you notice they've got a big bump on the top of their head. That's a sagittal crest, and that tells us that they're a maturing male, although they don't always act that way. So let's see how we go with this guy. His name is Diego. How about a big high for Diego? Now, part of looking after these seals is training them in behaviours. All takes time and trust, and Diego won't do anything he doesn't want to do. Some of these behaviours can be a simple daily health check. Opening the mouth on cue now allows us to see his teeth. Notice this time his teeth are nice and dark. They don't have the natural stuff that we do, which is enamel, which keeps our teeth nice and white. They have a natural bacteria which is thought to actually protect them out there in the wild. Something else that you can do can be more challenging, but again, we need the assistance of someone in the audience. Someone who doesn't mind getting a bit wet this time. Why don't we take a boy, just you mate, why don't you come down this way? Come on down here. And what's your name, mate? Paulo. Paulo, great. All right, Paulo, we want you to come over here, up nice and close to the glass. Face Renee, on the count of 3, we want you to throw your arms in the air and you'll jump Diego. Got the idea? Renee's giving him a bit of a run up off the top of the cliff, so just wait till I get safe. All right, it's going to be jump Diego. 1, 2, 3. Well, that was a pretty good effort, Paulo, but Diego, was that loud enough for you? No. Paulo, he said no. So how about we get everyone to help you out? On the count of 3, we want you and everyone to yell, jump Diego, and don't forget, throw your arms in the air. 1, 2, 3. We soaked the wrong people. But thanks very much for your help, Paulo. How about a big round of applause for our volunteer? And of course, a wonderful jump, everyone. That's Diego. Thanks, Renee. Now, we want you to stay just where you are. Our trainers and our SEALs are coming out to make their final farewells. Don't forget, choose MSC, and you too can be a champion for the wild. We hope you have a wonderful Easter and, of course, a wonderful day right here at Taronga Zoo. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye for now.